Good morning, students. Welcome to your next computer classes. I am Srijit, taking computer classes for class 5. In the last week's session, I had shared the video and the assignment regarding chapter 1, which we have completed till the part. In this video, in the first video, I'm here to revise you the content which we have done in the previous class. Similarly, we will today start with new two topics which we will discuss ahead in the upcoming class. So let's revise what we have learned in the previous class. In the previous class, the name we had started with the first chapter, that is chapter number 1, and the name of the chapter is Evolution of Computers. As I had described, evolution means development. The computer, the desktop, the laptops, the tablets, which you see nowadays, the ATM machines, okay, the different embedded machines, the gaming console on which you play games, all these computing systems were not like this in the past. In the past, as we have started, that in the past, such computing devices were not available. In this chapter, we are studying how slowly the system, the computing system developed and become the one which we see nowadays. In the previous time, the computers which were available were not so small. Rather, it requires a complete room to occupy, and the electricity consumption, the heat generation was so high that normal people was not able to afford computer. That's why in the past or in the previous times, the computers were not available at so many homes like today. Today we can find computers at so many places, at our home also. So we will study about how it evolved or how it developed in upcoming time. Now, in the previous class, we had started with the different calculating devices. We had learned about abacus, Napier-Bones, Pascaline, difference engine, analytical machine engine, and tabulating machine. We had discussed about these 6 calculating devices in our previous class. In case if anybody has not attended the previous class, we have shared the YouTube links of that class. You can go and you can watch where I have elaborated all these calculating devices. What are these and how they were being used. Now, in today's session, we would again discuss about the 2 calculating devices, ENIAC and UNIVAC. ENIAC, which stands for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. This is the short form. The elaborated form is Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. It was discovered or it was developed in 1946 by J. Presper Eckart and John Macaulay. It was the first electronic computer, electronic machines which we see nowadays. So it was the first electronic computer which was developed in 1946 by J. Presper Eckart and John Macaulay. First thing, it was extremely big in size. As you can see the picture which is given on page number 9, where you can see the ENIAC. It's so much big in size that it requires a complete room. Plus, it consumes a lot of electricity. बहुत electricity consume होता था. Okay. After that, in 1951, J. Presper Eckhart and John Macaulay developed UNIVAC. And what is the full form of UNIVAC? Universal Automatic Computer. And it was the second commercially available. Now, commercial means, beta, the objects or the devices which are used at commercial level, means used at factories, offices, for commerce, for trade purposes. Okay, so at commercial level, like we are using computers at factories, we are using at offices for doing our trade work, business work, yes or no? So these two computers were the first two computers which were available at commercial level, which the people can buy, and through that they can operate the factories, they can do their businesses by using these two computers. I hope that I am clear with these two topics, ENIAC and UNIVAC. Now, in the next part, we would be discussing about the pioneers of computer. Those people who have contributed their useful contribution in developing the computer. Okay, like if I talk about like the people who are the freedom fighters who helped us in getting freedom of India, Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, Bhagat Singh, Lal Bahadur Shastri. So these were the people जिनके contribution से, जिनके मदद से हमारा इंडिया independent हुआ था. Similarly, we would talk about those people due to whose contribution we have seen the computer which is nowadays. So on the next page, page number 10, we have pioneers of modern computer. Those people who contributed, who helped, okay, due to their work, due to their hard work, the computer which we see nowadays is available. So the first person is Charles Babbage, who is also known as your father of computer. Charles Babbage, who is also known as father of computer. He was an English mathematician. Okay, he had designed difference engine, if you have remember. Okay, he also developed the plans for analytical engine, but analytical engine was not completed during his lifetime. He expired, and after that the work was carried by the another person. Okay, and he had developed the analytical engine was Augusta Ada Lovelace. So the first person who had made his contribution is Charles Babbage. He is also known as the father of computers. He had made difference engine and had worked or contributed regarding analytical engine also. The next person is Augusta Ada Lovelace. Now, she was an English mathematician and a writer, and she was the daughter of Lord Byron. Okay, the English poet. There's an English poet, Lord Byron, and she was daughter of Lord Byron. She is mainly recognized for the work. चार्ल्स बेबेज के वर्क को इन्होंने आगे कंटिन्यू किया था अगस्ता ने, and hence she had developed the analytical engine. Her notes on engine are recognized as the first procedure meant to be carried out by an engine. Therefore, she is often regarded as the first computer programmer of the world. Now, she is also known as first programmer of the world. First computer programmer. Because she had developed the notes in which she told that how the machine will work. Okay, as we know from our previous classes, machine won't understand the human language. We have to provide programs to the machine which the computer will understand and work according to it. So Augusta Lovelace had formed notes, you can say script or the programs, and she told the world that how this computer will work. Hence, she is recognized as the first computer programmer. बेटा ये नाम्स आपको याद रखने हैं. चार्ल्स बेबेज, that is father of computer. Augusta Ada Lovelace, she is known as first computer programmer. Okay, after that we have John von Neumann. The next pioneer is John van Neumann. He is a Hungarian American mathematician, physicist and inventor. Mathematician, physicist, knows about physics, and an inventor. He suggested that both data and instruction can be stored in the memory of computer. Okay, now the storage. The storage of computer where the computer store different information. This idea was given by John van Neumann. According to him, the data and the instruction both can be saved in computer's memory. We are not supposed to give the data again and again. Like in calculator, if I have to add 2 plus 7, if I have to do addition, every time I have to add the plus sign. 2 plus 7, 9. Then 9 plus 2, 11. So every time I have to give the instruction. According to John van Neumann, you can store the instruction. That means you just give the numbers. Automatically it will add. You will type 2, 7. Automatically it will give you the number 9. Because the instruction is stored in the memory. It's stored in the computer's memory. So according to John van Neumann, we can store the data as well as instruction in computer's memory. And this is how the storage devices, the memory devices, the hard disk, pen drive, they all came into existence. After that, we have Mr. Alan Turing. Alan Turing. The name is Alan Turing. Now, what Alan Turing has done? Alan Turing was an English computer scientist and a mathematician. He had invented a machine which was known as Turing machine. The machine invented by Alan Turing is known as Turing machine, which was first general purpose computer. Please remember, it was the first general purpose computer. Now, what is general purpose computer? Those computer which are capable of doing all general works, like a computer at our home. We can use it for drawing, we can use it for work, we can use it for entertainment. On it, we can play games. Your father or mother can do their office works. Okay, you are not required different computers for doing different works. All your works, all your requirements can be done by a same computer. That kind of computer is known as general purpose. General means for available for common people. So Alan Turing has developed a machine which was known as Turing machine, which was the first general computer. Okay, general purpose computer. Now I'll just rub out one part. After Alan Turing, we have Grace Hopper. Grace Hopper, and what she has done? She was an American computer scientist. She was the one of the programmer who programmed the first computer. Now, programmer is who? Like I am. I have done graduation in BTech. I am a programmer. Programmer means, who is a programmer? A programmer is a person like me who writes a program, who forms a program, who writes a program. Okay, and what is program? Program are set of instructions which tells the computer how to do a work and when to do a work. Okay, like if I tell you stand up and move 10 steps back. So what will you do? You will understand my instruction, you will stand up from your position and you will move 10 steps back. Yes or no? But if I tell computer to do this, what the computer will do? No, computer won't understand my language. Human language, he will not understand. So what he understands? He understands program. Program is a set of instructions or command which tells the computer what to do and how to do. And the person who writes program, who makes program, is known as programmer. So Grace Hopper was one of the first programmer who had programmed a computer. And what was the computer name? Howard Mark I. This was the computer which she has programmed. Means she had told or she had made understand this computer how actions are to be performed, how task or process is to be done. कंप्यूटर को बताना पड़ता है, बट कंप्यूटर ह्यूमन लैंग्वेज, इंसान की भाषा नहीं समझता है. कंप्यूटर को सेट ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शंस, कमांड एक प्रोग्राम के रूप में लिख के देना होता है. दैट प्रोग्राम लिखने वाले व्यक्ति को हम प्रोग्रामर कहते हैं. Similarly, she was the first programmer who had programmed the computer named as Howard Mark I. Also, she had developed a programming language. Now, programming language is a language in which you write programs. जैसे जैसे आप बड़े होते जाएंगे, you will get to know that there are certain programming languages. Just आप में से जो लोग, the one who can remember, please write. There are certain programming languages. You will encounter them when you will become big or when you will move to higher classes. Programming languages like C, C++, C#, Java. In that itself, we had early programming language named as COBOL. COBOL was being developed by the help of Grace Hopper. Okay, among these, I know about 4 or 5 languages, and in them we have to write the instruction which tells the computer how to perform a work. So these personalities which we have discussed, they were the pioneers of computer generation, modern computers. Names are Charles Babbage, father of computer; Augusta Ada Lovelace, the first programmer; John von Neumann, the one who had given the concept of storing the instruction and data in computer's memory; Alan Turing, who developed the Turing machine, the first general purpose computer; and Grace Hopper, who had programmed the first computer, Howard Mark I, and also helped in developing a programming language named as COBOL. I think that the part of the chapter is clear till here. We would be again starting with the next part, that are the generations of computer. Now you will ask, sir, what do we mean by generation? So if, just an example, you have seen your grandfather, you have seen your father, and right now the third generation is you. Okay, so generation means after a particular period of time. Like you have grandfather, he came first in the world, after that your father, and then the son. So these are generation, like this is generation 1. After a period of time, when the father came, it's generation 2. And after a period of time, you will also grow up, you will also do job, you will also get married, you will also have family, and you will be termed as generation 3. So generation is after a period of time. Okay, after a certain time, the gap is termed as generation. Now, in this part, we are going to study about the different generations of computer. Now, here, what we are trying to mean is, generation means big changes, beneficial changes which occurred in computer is regarded as generation. पहले के कंप्यूटर्स बहुत बड़े बड़े होते थे, उनमें लगने वाले इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स बहुत बड़े बड़े होते थे. धीरे धीरे वो इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स की साइज छोटी होती गई. In resultant, the computer size also becomes small, but the computation power, the processing power, calculation power बढ़ती गई. So we will discuss about the different changes which had occurred. So early computers were huge machines developed by government and institution. Those machines, nowadays we have private companies also which are making them. We can assemble them. But in the initial time, these computers were developed by the governments or their institutions. How did those computers, which were so big, which required a complete room, which generates lot of heat, which consumes lot of electricity, has slowly transformed into the computer or the laptops which we see now? So the first generation, which termed as F1, that is first generation, and this was between 1940 to 1958. The first generation of computer, the time of first generation of computer is regarded between 1940 to 1958. Now what had happened? They used vacuum tubes. पहले फर्स्ट जनरेशन के अंदर वैक्यूम ट्यूब्स यूज किए जाते थे for assembling a computer. A picture of vacuum tube is being shown on your book itself. Vacuum tubes are being used as electrical components. What we are talking about, they all are electrical components. आप लोगों ने सुने होंगे बहुत से components at home like diodes, capacitors, transmitter. Yes or no? So these are electronic components. So vacuum tube were being used. Now the problem in first generation computers were they were much unreliable and very costly. हम उन पे विश्वास नहीं कर सकते थे. Either they will work or they will not work. So they were unreliable. Okay, जिस पे हम विश्वास नहीं कर सकते हैं, जिस पे हम भरोसा नहीं कर सकते हैं, rely नहीं कर सकते हैं. So first generation computers were very unreliable. Sometimes they get mistakes, they break down or they won't work. Okay, processing नहीं होता था. So we can't depend on those computers, and they were very costly because of use of vacuum tubes. Vacuum tubes बहुत महंगे होते थे उस समय. Okay, धीरे धीरे vacuum tubes transform हुए. They becomes ICs, integrated chips. Okay, microchips. Nowadays you have seen a green color chip जो आप किसी games के अंदर से, if you have any opened up gaming console or you had opened up some your keyboards, playing keyboards, Casio and all, उसमें से green color के chips निकलते हैं, बहुत पतले होते हैं. What are those? Those are ICs, integrated chips, and on them you have seen some black marks also. Green color का होता है. Let's draw it with a green color itself. Something like this, on which they have green, black other electrical components and a chip like this. So these ICs were invented and then it were become smooth. But in the F1 generation, they used vacuum tubes which were unreliable and very costly. As I told you, they use more electricity. बहुत electricity use करते थे because they were big machines. So it take more electricity. They require air conditioner. As I told you, अब इतना electricity they will use, so they will generate heat. You have also seen the voltmeter or the DTH boxes which is available at your home. If it's running for a long time, वो गर्म हो जाता है. Devices गर्म होते हैं. Talking about phone also, if you are using a phone for a longer time, its screen gets heated up. So a big machine which occupies the complete room uses so much of electricity, generates so much of heat, and for tackling up that heat they required ACs, air conditions in the room. पुराने टाइम में अगर आपके पास में AC नहीं है तो आप घर पे कंप्यूटर्स नहीं रख पाते, because computers generate so much of heat that without air condition they can't be tackled. Okay, then they had slow input and output devices. Nowadays we put up the inputs, we type, we give the number, and computer give us back the output. We had studied about IPO in the last class, input processing output cycle, in which we had found that we will provide input, it will process, and it will give the output. But F1 generation, first generation computers, they were very slow. इनपुट भी स्लोली लेते थे एंड प्रोसेसिंग भी स्लोली होता और आउटपुट भी स्लोली आता. तो दे टेक टाइम. नाउ व्हाट आर द फर्स्ट जनरेशन? दे वर ह्यूज इन साइज, दो दे कांट बी मूव. बहुत बड़े होते थे. लाइक दिस रूम, इफ द कंप्लीट रूम इज ऑक्यूपाइड बाय द कंप्यूटर, मैं कैसे लेके जाऊंगा उसको? विदाउट एनी क्रेन और विदाउट द हेल्प ऑफ एनी अदर मशीन मैं उसको यहां से नहीं लेके जा सकता. सो फर्स्ट जनरेशन कंप्यूटर यूज वैक्यूम ट्यूब्स. They were from 1940 to 1958. They were very big. They used lot of electricity, give lot of heat. If without air condition, we can't manage them, and they were so big in size that we can't carry it everywhere. Then, what are the examples? We had studied the example in the first generation computers were ENIAC and UNIVAC. These were the first generation computers, and I think that everybody know who had developed the ENIAC or the UNIVAC. बताइए. John Macaulay and shall I give you the hint? J. Presper Eckart and John Macaulay. They had developed the two ENIAC and UNIVAC in 1946 and 1951 respectively. We had discussed about the first generation computers. Now let's discuss about the second generation computer. Now in second generation computer, that is F2. Now in F2, what they had done? They replaced vacuum tubes. Electrical component, vacuum tubes को उन्होंने हटाया, and in place of vacuum tube they used the transistors. This is again the next electrical component जो vacuum tubes की जगह पे use किया. And the time of this is 1959 to 1963. Okay, the years between 1959 to 1963 are considered to be F2, second generation of evolution of computers, where they have replaced the vacuum tubes by transistor. Now when they replaced it with transistor, now the computing system जो पहले reliable नहीं था, it become more reliable. Okay, by reducing the vacuum tubes, as I mentioned in the vacuum tubes, as you can see on your textbook, vacuum tubes लगभग इतने size के थे, and transistor इतने से. So when vacuum tubes have been removed, automatically the size of the computer also got smaller, because now in place of bigger things, bigger components, bigger electrical components, we are using the small ones that are transistor. They were smaller in size as compared to the first generation. First generation computers were big, so second generation computers were smaller than first generation computer. They generate less heat, okay, than first generation computer. First generation computer generates more heat, so it generates less heat. That means it use less electricity also. जितना electricity वो use करेंगे उतनी heat generate होता है. So if they are generating less heat, means they are consuming less electricity in comparison to first generation computers. They were very costly. Nowadays also the computing systems are costly. So at F2 generation, they were costlier than F1 generation computers. Okay, and they also required air condition. We understood that the heat generation was less, but still they require air conditioning, because heat तो generate होता था, कम होता था but होता था. And if a device is kept in heat for a long time, it gets damaged. So to avoid that damage, air conditions were being used for providing them cooling purpose. So F2 generation coming from 1952 to 1963, in which in place of vacuum tubes, transistors were used. They are electrical components, due to which the electricity consumption become less, heat generation reduced, still they require air conditioning. Okay, and examples are IBM 1401. The computers of second generation, the example is IBM 1401 or Honeywell 200. They are the examples, okay, examples of the computers which were regarded as second generation. After that, we move on to the third generation, F3. I would request everyone, please carry a book along with you, because I am reading from the book itself. The points which I am mentioning or describing are from the book itself. It's a combination of your book reading session also. Okay, so third generation computer, F3, coming from 1964 to 1970. What was the first? Now, in first generation we used vacuum tubes. Second generation we used transistor. So in third generation we used ICs, which are known as integrated circuits. Small chips, like I have just defined you about green color chips. Those are ICs, in which all IC is also an electrical component. All other electrical components are embedded or joined on it. आपने देखा होगा, sometimes you have went to television or radio repairing shops. There they are soldering something, they are joining the wires, they are using the chips, उसमें उनको add कर रहे होते हैं, join कर रहे होते हैं. All those small green color chips which are available in your phones also, in your old transistors, tape recorders, you will find that. In your old gaming consoles, the one which came with cards, or the one which at my time I had gaming consoles जिसपे Super Mario and games खेले जाते थे. So all these contain ICs. So third generation की खासियत क्या थी? In place of transistor, F2 में हम transistor, second generation में हम transistor use करते थे, third generation में हमने उसको ICs में use कर लिया. Transistor से भी छोटा होता है IC. So what happened? They were used integrated circuits, ICs. They generate less heat. Third generation computer कम heat generate करते थे in comparison to second generation. They were faster and smaller in size. As I told you, transistor को हटा के हमने IC लगा दिया. ट्रांजिस्टर इतना होता था, IC छोटी हो गई. तो जब छोटे छोटे कंपोनेंट से आप कंप्यूटर मेक करेंगे, वो और छोटा हो जाएगा. It will use less power, it will generate less heat. Its processing will become more faster. जैसे जैसे जनरेशन इंक्रीज होते गए, कंप्यूटर का प्रोसेसिंग भी बढ़ता गया. As the generation moves on, the computing speed, the processing speed of computer gets on increase. Power consumption gets on decrease. Heat generation gets on decrease, but the processing power increased generation wise. Okay, so they needed less maintenance, they needed air condition. Okay, still we have ICs, they generate heat. Those computers also, these third generation computer came at that time when initial computers were brought to India. So at that time also we require air condition. मान गए कि आपका कंप्यूटर gets smaller in size, faster in processing, okay, less consumption in electricity, but still processing के time पे it generate heats. In case you can see, when your computer is working so much time, your CPU fan starts rotating. What does that fan is doing? वो CPU के अंदर generate होने वाली heat को बाहर भेज रहा है, so that circuit may get cooled down. Sometimes your phone gets heated up, तो हम क्या करते हैं? We kept it aside for some time so that it can cool down, else the system will not work. They were costlier but more reliable, and they consume less electricity. Third generation computers were smaller in size, they were more reliable, more trusted. The answers or the working were trusted one. Okay, mistakes nahi hota tha usme. So they were more trusted, they were little bit costlier than your second generation computers, and the examples are IBM 360, Apple I. These are the computers which were developed between 1964 to 1970. They had ICs in them, that is integrated chips. They were smaller in size with second generation in comparison to second generation, consumes less electricity, smaller in size with second generation computers, but still they needed air condition. I hope these three generations are clear to you. I would request again, please keep the book along with you so that you can check or you can verify what we are reading right now. So now after that we comes the fourth generation computer which we are using right now. Generation 4